Hi guys, how are you doing today? Chantal here from Grounded Mind. What I wanted to cover today is something that I'm asked quite regularly, and I have covered this before, but I think it's something that needs a refresher because it is important for people to remember and understand what we're about to talk about, which is setbacks. I'm going to call this video today, Don't Fear the Setback. And so when you found a mind-body approach, or you've felt better and then you don't feel very well after like a couple of months of feeling great, you have a day or a week where it's just like, you just feel rubbish again, the symptoms flare, and you have to kind of remember what you've been told about setbacks and you have to apply that calmness. But you still fear that because you think, how long am I going to get setbacks for? So I wanted to just, again, today go over what a setback is and why we get them. So essentially, a setback is our brain pulling up an old file. So we have in the past lived in a state of fear and anxiety that has caused the symptoms to arise. It has caused us to have the symptoms that we do have, which could be kind of the dizziness or the unbalanced feeling or the tinnitus or whatever chronic sensation or symptom that you have. And so the neurons in our brain that have been made and that trigger these kind of symptoms that happen, they are still there. So the more that we respond with clarity, with calmness, with reassurance, with acceptance, the more that we respond better, is the stronger the new neural pathway, new neural connections are going to be. They get stronger and stronger and stronger, which is why you feel better. You feel better because you're responding differently. But our brain has unfortunately got neurons that used to scream danger. They used to scream something's wrong, and they are still whispering. They're like, hey, I'm still here. That is a setback. And so you will notice it less and less and less because you are responding, and you are responding better. You know how to respond to anxiety, to fear, to symptoms, to stressful situations, because you've learnt the mind-body approach. You know the language that your brain speaks. And so with being calm, with somatic tracking, with deep breathing, with acceptance, with calming yourself down, you are retraining your brain. And so that's why you feel better. That's why you'll have weeks where you'll feel on top of the world, and then you'll have a day where the whisper comes in, and then you will have a setback. And that is like, oh my gosh, no, what's going on? And so that is the point where I'll get contacted and, you know, this has happened, I've had a great week, and or whatnot. And so we need to remember that how we respond is the most important thing. Straight away, if we respond with clarity, with calm, as I've just mentioned, our setbacks should reduce. And then we feel good again because you have actually responded great. And so we need to remember that it's all to do with our response. And so we make them weaker and weaker by responding better when we have a symptom. We will strengthen the setbacks and we'll strengthen the old pathways if we respond in a way that is engaging with the fear, that is disbelieving what you know, and all of that has the opposite effect to healing. That is why I say how we respond is important. It's actually vital. And so I wanted to give you an example. So as you know, I was chronic in 2021. Throughout 2021, I learned about the mind-body process, with me doing things too much and doing things just right, and settling the way I was doing things enabled me to be able to heal. And so 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, I have felt my best over the past few years because I know I've understood brain retraining. I have retrained my brain. But I do sometimes have the whisper. don't have to be stressed. I don't have to be anxious. I don't have to be in a situation that you would typically think would cause the symptoms. And an example was this was a couple of days ago, I went to my daughter's graduation, and it was in a big kind of cathedral, and there was hundreds of people there. And years ago, that kind of setting would trigger me. Lights, people, noises, voices. And I didn't even acknowledge the fact that that would trigger me when I went into that room. But those neural pathways that has created those points of things that have happened in my life to create vestibular migraine, as they call it, they were in that room. So subconsciously, as I was sitting there, subconsciously, I just heard a pop in my, not a pop, sorry, a pitch in my ear. It just went, "Ee," and I was sitting there thinking, oh, okay. And then I thought to myself, that's odd, because this is a grand, brilliant, lovely event, seeing your child graduate. Then I thought, okay, that must be an old pathway still there, very small. So my response to that was I carried on watching and clapping for all of the students that were walking past. And I didn't ignore it though. I didn't just think I'm going to just try to not pay any attention to it. I allowed it to be there. And when I say allow it to be there, I mean, I kind of honed into it, and I listened as well. While I was clapping and carrying on, I was listening to the pitches that it was kind of giving, my head, my hearing, what I could actually hear. And I didn't fear it. I kind of thought to myself, okay, you're there, just be there then. And I kind of do this thing where if my head or my hearing feels a bit not off, but if I can actually attach myself to the feeling, then I go with it, if that makes sense. I'm probably not making any sense here. I hope I'm making some sense. I kind of go with it. So it's like I'm trying to sail with the sensation that I hear or that I feel. And then within minutes, it just kind of, I literally felt it get weaker and weaker and weaker, and it stopped. That lasted for about 3.5 minutes, around that 3 to 4 minutes, and it stopped and it went. And that was because I didn't fear it. I didn't panic. I didn't walk out the room to try to kind of escape it. I didn't give it the negative attention. I gave it warmth, and I gave it acceptance. And so that is a setback. And so I'm calling this video, as you know, don't fear setbacks, because if you fear the setback and you fear the word setback before you even have a setback, that's all fear. It's all part and parcel of the same fear game. You have to respond differently. I know that some situations are different. I know that it's, I know that you may think, oh, well, what if I'm here or what if I'm there? But you need to find a way to respond differently, because that is when the symptoms will reduce. And so I really want to just really express and share with you that positive thinking, positive responses when you do feel a symptom is really good. Inviting it in to your wherever you are. Carry on doing what you're doing while you're having a setback if you can. If you can't, you can't. But if you can, find a way that you are not judging it and allowing it to be there while you're carrying on, and almost being happy with it and speaking to it and saying, okay, you're there, that's fine, I get it. And that is how you will build the neurons, and that is how you will strengthen your neurons that are there, that you have built over time by responding differently. And let's not respond with fear. And so, yes, I'm quite happy that happened to me, so I can give you an example of it happening in real life, because it's not something that we should fear. Life is lifing for us, and our brains are working, and they don't just stop doing things because we're doing things different, but they gradually, our brain gradually changes. The rewiring is a gradual process, but it also, the quicker we can rewire our brains quicker if we respond different. When we respond calm, we are rewiring our brain quicker. When we respond with fear, it's going to take longer. So that question around how long does it take to heal, it's dependent on how you respond. And so I really, really do hope this video makes sense today, because it's important. And I've wrote a couple of things down that I wanted to make sure I didn't forget, because it's so important. But it essentially, the next time that you feel off, it's just don't jump to fear, jump to reassurance. And you can prove it to yourself. That's your evidence and that's your proof. That's your proof that this works. You are your own evidence. And so, yes, I just want to remind you not to fear a setback. And I hope this makes sense today. And you know where I am if you want to have a chat. And I will be back. Take care. Lots of love.